Today was day 10 of the Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard defamation trial. Let's talk about it. Hey everyone, welcome to Legalbytes. If you're new here, my name is Alita. I'm a lawyer licensed in California and DC, and on this channel, we explain the law one bite at a time. So today we heard more video deposition testimony, but we were saved by the fact that it was split up into 5 different testimonies by 5 different witnesses. So it moved a little bit faster than the previous video deposition testimonies moved. The first witness was Officer Tyler Hadden. Officer Hadden was one of 2 LAPD officers who arrived at the downtown LA Penthouses on May 21st, 2016 in response to a 911 call. Yesterday, we heard from his counterpart, Officer Sands. Officer Hadden basically confirmed everything that Officer Sands had said yesterday. Namely, this was that there was a 911 call made in reference to an incident at this residence and that they were tasked to respond to investigate. When they did, they were met with an uncooperative bunch of people. Officer Hadden said that he attempted to gather information on the husband involved, what happened, where he went, but the people in the apartment wouldn't even give him a name. He said that they looked through all of the rooms in both penthouses and got a good look at the whole place. And he said that although he was looking for signs of domestic disturbance, as was standard police procedure by the LAPD, he said that he saw no evidence that a crime had been committed or that there was an incidence of domestic violence or domestic disturbance. Specifically, he said that there was no broken glass, no wine spilled, and no damage to the apartment. And although it was Officer Sands who had a conversation directly with Amber, Officer Hadden said that he also got a good look at her. And he said that he saw no marks, swelling, or bruises on Amber's body. When asked specifically about the redness in Amber's face, Officer Hadden said that he did in fact see redness on Amber's face, but that it was consistent with someone that was crying and not consistent with someone who was in any way injured. And finally, he testified that there was no police report that was filed because there was apparently no need for one. If he had observed any injuries on Amber or any damage to the apartment to suggest that a crime had been committed, he would have documented it. And so therefore, the fact that there is no documentation of anything reflecting any of those things, it means that there was, in fact, none of those things present at the apartment that night. The second witness we saw today was Officer William Gatlin. Officer Gatlin was part of the duo that arrived in the second round of LAPD visits on the night of May 21st, 2016. Both sets of officers that showed up that night responded to a separate 911 call, and according to the testimony, both of the 911 calls had been redirected from NYPD. This would suggest that the person who called 911 for this incident was in New York. Remember now that it's generally understood that Amber's friend Io was in New York on the night of this incident and was on the phone with Amber when Amber alleges that Johnny threw the phone at her. And similar to the previous 2 officers' testimony, Officer Gatlin also said that he did not see any injuries on Amber, although in his particular case, it does seem that his testimony as to what he saw of Amber's injuries should be somewhat discounted, possibly discounted, because of the fact that he was not in the best position to see those injuries. Specifically, he said that the proximity at which he stood when he saw Amber was about 10 to 15 feet away, and he said that she was in dim light. He also said that he did not have a conversation with her directly. Officer Gatlin further testified that at the time, he did not know who Amber Heard was, and he did not know that Johnny Depp was in any way involved in the incident. However, the really important part of Officer Gatlin's testimony was the introduction of his body camera footage. Let's take a look.
There it is.
Okay, so yeah, this is body cam footage here. Going in the elevator, from the lobby level.
Coffee's hot. Burning up. Word around penthouse 3.
Penthouse.
Be advised, we're stepping out onto the penthouse floor.
So you can see that striped carpeting there.
Oh, Hello, officers. How you doing? Doing all right.
The generic white male.
Yes, we did. Okay. I can't remember their names offhand. We have the card inside. Diane, maybe? Yeah, we got another call. I don't know if it's related to the same call from earlier or if somebody called again. Probably. We just did the check. When you guys know someone in New York or something? Yeah, she probably called twice. Okay. Yeah. You just talk to your wife and just make sure it's not. Oh, it's not my one. Okay. Different conversation. Oh, okay, yeah. Well, whoever it is, step out.
But we need to talk to
Make sure they're all good.
I'll go get the business card from the cops.
Look at him keeping the door closed.
We don't need the business card. We need to speak to her.
Yeah. We need to know that you're not the abuser.
Yeah.
We'll just come in and just check. We just need to make sure
We'll
everybody
just come in.
is
Just come
okay
in and take a look. That's all. It's no big deal.
Well, when you get a call, this is unfortunately how domestics go. A lot of the times.
I don't know if she
Right.
called twice or whoever called, but we just got another notification.
Because the person who's the abuser is going to make everything seems okay. Yeah, don't worry, everything's all right. They were here
Come in and
before.
Make sure that everybody's okay.
Yeah.
They're all good. Nobody else is in here.
No. The other officers came by and checked the apartment and the other apartment as well.
Yeah.
It must have been like a double call.
Okay.
Yeah,
That
the
looks
dogs.
like the couch.
Those are the criminals who take poops on the bed.
I know. Somehow
Way to go.
disproportionately sized poops.
Arrest those dogs.
Public
All
defecators.
good then?
Now it's, yeah.
All right.
There's the kitchen that they're passing by, the island there. Nothing on the floor.
No, if she was injured, you saw some. There was.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get nothing there, and especially if you're
Yeah.
injured, you have
No,
EMS
no
call.
damage on the walls, no wine stains on the walls.
Yeah.
Expect the jury to watch this several times during deliberations.
Yeah.
As we could see, the body camera footage there appears to show that there was no wine stains, no broken glass, no damage to any doors, etc. Everything was pretty much tidy and in its proper place. When asked why they did such a seemingly fast sweep of the place, he said that first, the man who answered the door was reluctant to let the officers in. Second, he said that the people at the apartment reiterated the same information that they had provided to the first two officers. As an initial matter, he said that the husband was not present in the apartment at the time. And at the same time, although Officer Gatlin and his counterpart needed to go there to gather their own information to ensure that there was no new incident that came along with this second 911 call, the fact that this information had not changed from the first visit meant that there was less of a concern of a domestic disturbance. He further stated that none of the people there claimed that Johnny had committed any acts of domestic violence. And he said that Amber did not make any effort to show any of her supposed injuries, and no one made an effort to show any damages to the apartment. So basically, now we have 3 police officers who testified that they visited the penthouses on the night of May 21st, 2016, and who did not see any injuries on Amber, nor did they see any kind of damage to the apartment. This seemingly contradicts with the testimony of Isaac Baruch as to the condition of the apartment, because he testified to seeing a very large wine puddle on the carpet and on the wall, as well as broken glass down in the hallway. But this leads me to think that what's going to happen is that the Depp legal team is likely going to line these all up into a timeline. Specifically, I expect them to say that after Johnny left, the first set of officers arrived about some time later, and that the second set of officers arrived sometime after that, and that following that second set of officers, That's when Isaac Baruch came by and found the condition of the hallway of the penthouses in the way that he did. If the Depp legal team can show this timeline in a clear and convincing fashion, this would show that someone caused the damage to the apartment at some point in time after the second set of officers left and before the arrival of Isaac Baruch and long after Johnny left. And because this would seemingly suggest a setup of a massive hoax on that night, this would be pretty devastating to Amber's case. Anyway, the third witness that we saw today was Alejandro Romero. Mr. Romero is a desk clerk at the Eastern Columbia building. As part of his job duties, he generally worked in the lobby and handled access control for tenants, as well as mail and food delivery. First off, this witness felt very much like a relatable 2.0 version of Isaac Baruch. He just seemed like a normal guy who really just kind of was on his lunch break for this deposition and just wanted to get back to work rather than be called in to testify in a matter between two eccentric rich people. His deposition was actually very unorthodox since he was sitting in the driver's seat of his car. At one point, he started vaping, and then at one point even started driving while he was answering questions. I've got to say, I have seen some pretty interesting depositions before, but I've never seen that before. Anyway, the substance of his testimony was centered on seeing Amber on May 25th, 2016. Mr. Romero testified that he saw Amber on that day and did not see any injuries to her face. Although he could not remember her hairstyle, clothes, or whether she had any makeup on, he said that when he talks to people, he always makes it a point to look in their eyes. And being 3 feet away from Amber, looking at her squarely, he said that he would have seen something like bruises on her face and that he would have said something about it if he did. When pressed further as to whether or not she was wearing makeup, he said that although he did not know if she was wearing makeup, makeup can cover bruises perhaps, but not swelling. And to be clear, he said he saw neither. Then the fourth witness was Christian Carino. Mr. Carino was a talent agent who had previously worked for both Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. Although his responses were not exactly the most straightforward, there was still some good information that came out in his testimony. First, he reiterated that it was his opinion that Johnny's reputation before the Washington Post article was a good one. When asked about Johnny's tardiness on set, Mr. Carino responded that Johnny had always been late and that his tardiness had never been an issue. Another interesting point that came out in the testimony was the fact that Amber had reached out to Mr. Carino to facilitate a meeting between herself and Johnny after the temporary restraining order was put in place. This ostensibly was the meeting in San Francisco where we previously heard the most damning audio recording to date, where Amber basically admits to Johnny that she couldn't come clean about the TRO because it would ruin her credibility. But anyway, the most important piece that came out was probably the statement by Mr. Carino that Johnny found out only 2 days after the Washington Post op-ed was published that Disney was firing him from Pirates of the Caribbean 6. And according to Mr. Carino, the reason that Johnny lost his role was none other than the damning statements from the article. This is really important because the Depp legal team needed something to come in to show Johnny had been harmed by these statements in the Washington Post op-ed. Previously, when Johnny was on the stand, he had a hard time identifying when he had been fired from the previous films at issue, and he seemed to be woefully uninformed as to whether or not he was getting work after the article was published. So although this witness's testimony wasn't exactly a home run for Johnny just because of the way that he came across, we do have evidence in front of the jury now showing that someone saw financial impact on Johnny after the Washington Post op-ed. Anyway, the final witness of the day was Laura Wasser. Ms. Wasser was Johnny's divorce lawyer starting from December 2015 through Amber and Johnny's divorce. Although this video deposition was a little bit tough to follow, there were also a few kernels to take away. First, Ms. Wasser discussed communications between herself and Amber's counsel, Samantha Spector. One of these communications included a statement from Ms. Spector telling Ms. Wasser that Amber intended to engage in a scorched earth type of strategy once she knew that Johnny wanted to divorce her. This included going to the media and airing out the controversy in public. And at the same time, Ms. Wasser also testified that Amber's attorney did not want to take down Amber's temporary restraining order from the court system to resolve it out of court. This was apparently abnormal and seemed to suggest that Amber wanted to leverage public knowledge of their divorce matter and some of the details specifically of these domestic violence claims in order to gain an advantage in the settlement. Other than that, we still haven't finished with Ms. Wasser yet, so I expect to see the rest of her video deposition tomorrow. At the end of the day, looking at all 5 of these witnesses today, I'd say it was generally another good day for Johnny. But did you see the testimony today? If so, I would love it if you could let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. And otherwise, I hope you enjoyed this, or at the very least found it interesting or informative. And if you did, I'd love it if you could hit the like button. It does help us with the YouTube algorithm gods. And if you haven't done so already, be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you can find out when the next video is uploaded. And so you can join us in tomorrow's live stream of this trial on day 11 of the Depp versus Heard trial right here on this channel. See you in the next video.